Hello, welcome. We're gonna give it one more minute for folks to kind of settle in, but we're so excited you're here. Bro, can we see, can the screen, everything's good, looks good?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, good afternoon. It's 12:01 and we're so glad you can join us. We hope you've had an awesome family weekend, whether you were spending that here in Blacksburg with us or maybe celebrating from wherever home might be for you. I'm Abby Hanson-Allen. I'm an assistant director in the Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life. And I'm joined with my co-presenter, Ro. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Ro Settle, and I serve as the director of Fraternity Sorority Life here at Virginia Tech.
Awesome. Well, we're so excited you're here. We're going to spend probably the next 40 or so minutes kind of talking a little bit about fraternity and sorority life here at Virginia Tech. We believe we have a really dynamic and thriving community here, and we want to make sure we leave a good amount of time for any questions you might have at the end. So if that sounds good to you all, we'll go ahead and get started. So I want to start with why. We've probably heard of fraternity or sorority, which is maybe why you're here today, or maybe you haven't and you're really curious and you want to learn more. But we really think that joining a fraternity or sorority is one of the best ways to experience VT. And we have some national data to back this up. So Gallup did a research study in 2021 of recent alumni, again, national data here, and those who had joined a fraternity or sorority while they were in college felt more prepared for life after college. They are more likely to be reporting that they're doing well, they have a thriving well-being. And they, most of all, had great collegiate experiences. This includes a strong emotional connection to their alma mater. They had professors who made them excited about learning. They reported that they felt supported by faculty and mentors. And they reported that they were 3 times more likely to have engaged in experiential learning. So that out of the classroom internship or just leadership development type of stuff. So here at Virginia Tech, we have an awesome community. We make up 18% or so of the undergraduate student body, just over 5,000 undergraduate students every year. We have 57 different chapters. They range in size from 2 to over 200. And they all fall in one of our 4 governing councils: the Interfraternity Council, the National Panhellenic Council, the Panhellenic Council, and the United Council of Fraternities and Sororities. And we'll talk more about each 4 of those councils in a couple of our 57 chapters in a little bit. We have some really awesome fraternity and sorority life community-wide programs that we're really proud of. We have an Oakland trick or treat every year, which invites a lot of local kids to our housing area, and they come out and it's a really, really great time. And it's awesome for the college students to interact with them there. A couple different weekends throughout our fall semester, we host Greeks Giving Back, which serves our New River Valley community well and gets our students out there engaging in service opportunities. We'll have some of our student leaders go to national leadership conferences or engage in our Fraternal Leaders Institute closer to home. All of our student leaders will go through a risk management institute to get them thinking about the different kinds of risk that they might engage in at the organizational level and how to mitigate and manage that. And every year we celebrate all of the awesome things that our students have accomplished at the celebration.
One of the ways that, another way that is a great benefit to join our community is the scholarship and service opportunities that are afforded to membership. And so I think we all know that Virginia Tech's university motto is that may serve ut prosim. And so this is just another way that members of our community serve. And so last year alone, at the time, 51 organizations raised over $1 million to a specific philanthropy of their choosing, as well as Virginia Tech's Relay for Life. As you can see, we also logged over 16,000 hours of community service, most of which is within our local community. And our average GPA is a 3.29, which is higher than the all undergraduate average for the spring semester. And that's pretty consistent for each semester. And something that's not here, but I wanted to point out is there's a pretty high retention rate from your first to second year while you're at Virginia Tech. It's about 90%, which is well above the national average. If you join a fraternity and sorority, it's 98%. So it bumps up your retention. And for all the reasons that Abby said before, you have this greater sense of belonging and community when you join a fraternity and sorority. So we have a pretty long history of fraternity and sorority life here at Virginia Tech. So our first fraternities were founded in the 1870s. And unfortunately, VPI abolished fraternities about a decade later, given the military culture of the institution. But in 1972, 50 years ago, the Board of Visitors approved fraternity and sorority life to be recognized again. And so that's where we've been. And we continue to grow. I mentioned this earlier, but last year we were 51 organizations, and this year we are 57. So there's a lot of great options and opportunities, diverse options and opportunities for students to join a fraternity and sorority if they think they may be interested. So here's our office, small but mighty. And so we have 5 full-time professional staffs and 2 graduate assistants. And our office is primarily responsible for the administrative and programmatic support of those 57 organizations. We also advise one of the 4 each of the 4 councils, and each one of our full-time and graduate assistants serve as chapter coaches to those 57 organizations. So we meet with those chapter presidents and leaders and serve as their primary point of contact throughout the year, and are able to develop really strong and great relationships with those students.
Earlier, I mentioned that we think joining a fraternity or a sorority is the best way to experience VT. And it's kind of a little play on words because we fall underneath the subdivision of Experience VT within the greater division of student affairs here at Virginia Tech. So ask your students about how they're experiencing VT. They might hopefully know a little bit about their map that they should be checking out as well. But here in the office, we keep our chapters connected through our Standards of Excellence program, which is a chapter certification program and a best practice nationally amongst fraternity and sorority communities. We certify our chapters as bronze, gold, platinum, or potentially just at a certified or uncertified level, depending on how they've participated. It gives us 6 categories worth of data points to measure the excellent things that they are already doing in their organizations. These 6 categories includes community engagement, chapter support and leadership development, maintaining healthy environments and member experiences, administrative excellence, academic excellence, and a good neighbor grade, which is really important to us and a huge point of pride that our chapters score well in there. Ro, did I miss anything on Standards of Excellence?
No, and I'll just say since last year was the first year, the majority of our organizations were gold, which meant they met the high standards that we have for them. And so as we've been telling everyone, gold is great. Gold is great.
All right, so we're going to shift a little bit. We've given you some pretty high level picture things about our history and our community, and we've talked a little bit about the awesome things they do, but we want to get a little bit more specific to at least the council level and how to join at each of the councils. So if you're wondering if there's a specific chapter on campus, I think say that to our questions. We'll be happy to answer that at the end and give you some resources there too. First, I want to talk about the Interfraternity Council. I actually serve as advisor to the Interfraternity Council, so I know quite a bit. But there are 29 member organizations within the IFC. They definitely are a self-governing council where they hold each other accountable, but also start some really awesome programs and community initiatives. They are just wrapping up their formal recruitment right now, sometimes formerly known as Rush. It sometimes still is today. But I want to let you know, especially as parents and family members, that there is no rush to joining a fraternity. There's this common misperception that you have to join first thing your freshman year or you'll never get in, right? But all of our organizations are allowed to and heavily encouraged to participate in continuous recruitment, meaning they're engaging with all kinds of students on this campus. And you never know when you might meet who would meet a great another fraternity brother. So they're allowed, most of all 29 of our groups are allowed to, if they so choose, to extend a bid or an invitation of membership to a new member at any time. The formal recruitment period is wrapping up. So Monday, tomorrow is bid day. So if your Hokie is going through the IFC recruitment process, they might be receiving an invitation of membership tomorrow from one of our 29 member organizations. If they do, they'll come to our office on Tuesday to accept that bid. I mean, it's a really, really exciting time. However, if your Hokie went to a couple, recruitment and events and didn't find the right fit, again, don't worry. We will do another formal process at the beginning of next semester. But as I mentioned already, they're allowed to join at any point in time. So get them connected to us in our office or have them reach out to that chapter specifically and see how they can best pursue potential membership with them. The National Panhellenic Council is another one of our 4 councils here. They are a collaborative organization made up of the Divine 9 historically Black fraternities and sororities. The joining process for all of these organizations is chapter specific. So it's really important that your Hokie, if they're interested in joining one of these 9 organizations, and we have 6 of the 9 active on our campus, right, Ro?
Right.
So it's really important that they reach out to the chapter specifically. We have our Panhellenic Council next. So there are 13 women's organizations, also often known as sororities, in our Panhellenic Council. They all engage in a spring formal recruitment, and they're all housed at Oakland. It's important, if your Hokie's interested in joining one of these 13 chapters, that they have to be at least 12 credit hours into their collegiate experience before they're eligible to join one of these organizations. Okay, and then our 4th council is the United Council of Fraternities and Sororities. These groups are culturally based or academic interest. The processes, again, here to join these groups are chapter specific. So it's also important that if your Hokie is interested in joining one of these groups, that they reach out to the organization specifically to figure kind of out what the joining process and recruitment cycle looks for each of these organizations, because it does vary quite a bit. We have 1 multicultural sorority, 2 Asian interest sororities, 1 Asian interest fraternity, 2 Asian or Latinx interest sororities, and 1 Latinx interest fraternity. We have 1 engineering specific fraternity and 1 engineering specific sorority. Did I miss any of them?
You did not.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to make sure. With 57 orgs, you never know. It's all Greek around here. Ro, was there any points on all of the 4 councils that you wanted to highlight?
No, I think, well, the only thing that I would say is there's a lot of different options. And so I think the ones that maybe get the most attention is IFC recruitment and Panhellenic recruitment. And so people start to gravitate because those are the earliest things that you'll see, but there are a lot of different options. And so we encourage you to have your student explore all of the different options. We do have, and on our website, we do have what's called a chapter scorecard. And on that scorecard, it lists all of those organizations and gives you different information and metrics about each one of those. And then it also talks about unrecognized groups. And so we do have a fair number of unrecognized groups in our community, and they have Greek letters, or they go through Rush, just like a lot of the IFC fraternities, and so they sound alike. And so one of the things that I always say is they look like us, but they're not us. And so we encourage you to look at what those organizations are, and engage your student in conversations about whatever organization they choose to join or may be interested in joining, or participate in their events, and then ask them some deeper questions about any of those groups who may not be recognized with the university. It also lists on our website why organizations may have left our institution, and if any of our organizations have a conduct status with the university. We've also wanted to make sure you knew that there is a financial and a time commitment to joining a fraternity or sorority. And so dues are set by each of the organizations, and it can be comprised of a number of different things. Most organizations have weekly meetings, activities, and events. And so it wouldn't be a far stretch to say that your student would be participating in between 4 and 8 weeks worth of engagement. And if they serve in a leadership role, more hours for them.
Switching to housing a little bit. So not all of our 57 groups have a house. And I think it's important to note that there's such a diverse set of experiences out there. And our groups are all have a diverse, they just are. They are interesting groups. They're range in size from 2 to 200. So there's lots of unique experiences out there. So have good conversations with your student about what they're really looking for. Specifically, the IFC fraternities that are housed in Oakland, so on-campus fraternity house, Alpha Tau Omega, Pi Kappa Alpha, Alpha Sigma Phi, Phi Kappa Tau, Pi Lambda Phi, and Delta Sigma Phi. There's 13 of the Panhellenic sororities have a house in Oakland. So Alpha Chi Omega, Sigma Kappa, Pi Beta Phi, Alpha Phi, Delta Delta Delta, Kappa Kappa Gamma, Zeta Tau Alpha, Gamma Phi Beta, Chi Omega, Kappa Alpha Theta, Kappa Delta, and Alpha Delta Pi. Our NPHC house was celebrated or inaugurated 2 years ago. It's in its second school year now, I think.
Yes.
And it's an awesome programmatic space for the NPHC organizations. They'll use it collaboratively, but also independently. It's not a residential space, however. 8 of our IFC groups have fraternity houses off of campus: Theta Chi, Tau Kappa Epsilon, Delta Sigma Phi, Phi Sigma Kappa, Fiji, also known as Phi Gamma Delta, Zeta Psi, Alpha Gamma Rho, Beta Theta Pi, and Theta Delta Chi. I think unsure about Theta. Go ahead.
I was just going to switch. Farmhouse is also off campus.
Oh, thank you.
And Delta Sigma Phi is on campus. That is new as a month ago, and so we're still.
That was my typo.
We're still getting that. And one of the things that I wanted to mention about on-campus housing is think of it as a small residence hall. So you all probably have seen your students' residence halls. And so I think we conjure up visions of what a fraternity house may look and feel like, but it is university run. So it's got university furniture. We got card access like you do other residence halls. They got the micro fridges like our students did on the main part of campus. And so The main common areas are maintained by facilities and maintenance as housekeeping. And so it is a great living experience like it is on the main part of our campus.
Yeah, and it's mostly primarily sophomores, juniors that are living in Oakland. The off-campus houses that exist are not in a specific location. They're kind of scattered throughout town. There's no specific like, oh, that's Greek Row, right? It's kind of scattered throughout. So I'm sure we'll probably have a housing question or two, so we'll circle back. Want to talk about our commitment to a hazing-free experience. The Commonwealth of Virginia passed a new state law effective July 1, known as Adams Law, after the tragic death of Adam Oakes at Virginia Commonwealth in 2021. This mandates a hazing prevention and alcohol substance abuse education for all potential new members, current members, and one advisor in person annually. So we have done a lot of work to make sure that we're meeting compliance with this law. But I think what's special about our community here at Virginia Tech is that we've been doing this commitment to a hazing-free experience for a very long time. And it's kind of at all different points. So prior to even receiving a bid or registering for recruitment, they have to go ahead and sign this commitment to a hazing-free experience, which is a little bit of a conversation about how, what hazing looks like and knowing how to report it. Each semester, the chapter president and new member educator and maybe another student leader or two will meet individually with their chapter coach to have a pretty in-depth, thorough conversation about what hazing does and doesn't look like, and how to have good, clear expectations so that every new member has a healthy, safe, and happy experience in their fraternity or sorority. And then the third thing I think I really want to point out is the QR code or the link at the bottom, and we can sure post that later or share it out. But those are ways to look up the conduct status of all of our organizations and any conduct history that an organization might have, as Ro mentioned earlier, as well as how to report. So fsl.vt.edu/Hokies Don't Haze. I think that's the easiest way to get to it. You can even Google Hokies Don't Haze. That's how unique it is to us. So we'll probably circle back to that at some point as well. But it's something we take very seriously here, and we want our members to have great experiences. All right. So do we have any questions?
And you can go ahead and unmute and just ask your question if you have it, or you can put it in the chat.
I just want to make sure I don't miss the chat. All right. The first question we have is, does the university bus go to Oakland? Yes.
It does, and it goes to Oakland 4 times an hour, and even runs on game days. I should know. I rode the bus from Oakland to main campus last week, so it does.
The next question we have is, do you have to come back from winter break early for spring recruitment? So for the Panhellenic sororities, their formal recruitment, sometimes known as rush, but is yes. The answer is yes. You will be in the week before classes start, and it's pretty dedicated time. I will say it's kind of an immersive experience, if you will. So if your Hokie is planning to come back for formal recruitment for Panhellenic, that's pretty much what they can plan on doing that week. It's some longer hours for the days, but it's well worth it. They get to look at all 13 houses and chapters, and it's a really awesome experience. So yes. The next question we have is, can you join both an academic sorority and a Panhellenic sorority? Yes.
I think I would say there are a lot of different type of organizations that have Greek letters. So there are honorary organizations, there are professional organizations, there are social or values-based organizations like the ones that we work with. And so, for example, I am a member of a professional organization, a professional academic organization, as well as a social values-based fraternity. And so I think
yeah, I am as well. And I really recommend that they do, especially if they can get involved in the one that's specific to their academic major. I was a president for the History Honors Society, Phi Alpha Theta, and a member of Chi Omega. So yes. Our next question is, are there buses running during the Panhellenic formal recruitment? Yes. I think, so since it's not in the full semester schedule yet, they're at a different rate or like level of time and frequency of which they're running. But they're definitely, the Blacksburg Transport runs 365. They're pretty awesome. They run during the summer as well. So yes.
And the reason why Panhellenic recruitment is called formal, it's a pretty structured experience. And so because Oakland is a little away from the main part of campus where most of our students live, we'll make sure that we coordinate with housing for them to come back early. We'll make sure that they have transportation to all the events. I believe they get a meal each day they are participating.
Yep.
That's part of the registration fee. And so they'll get a t-shirt or two to participate. So there'll be a number of different things that students will get or have access to so that they can participate fully in formal recruitment.
One point that I'm thinking of now that I wish I would have included was the dates for the Panhellenic information session. So if your daughter is interested in joining a Panhellenic sorority, it's really important that she attends one of the mandatory information sessions. They're happening pretty much every other week, the entire semester. It's pretty frequent. So they can follow at VT Panhellenic on Instagram, and that is an awesome way for them to know when the next one is. Similarly, if your Hokie is interested in joining one of the other 4 councils, I think they're also sharing lots of good how to join information on their Instagram. So I'll type the handles in as well. The next question is, are the fees listed on the fraternity scorecard just one time or every semester? Each semester. I will say sometimes the new member dues are a little bit different than the current member dues. They might be like $100 extra that first semester, so that, and that probably includes like their PIN or something else specific. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what your Hokie can plan on for every semester.
I wanted to go back to a question to make sure it is, will there be a full information session for parents on formal Panhellenic recruitment later this year? Ooh, that's a great question. I think so.
We can probably make that happen.
We can probably make that happen and then work with our colleagues in new student family programs to get that advertised as well. I know that parents often have a lot of questions, but don't know what those questions are until it's right before. And so we know that when we inform our families who also counsel, coach, and support their students, especially through Panhellenic formal recruitment, if we give parents information, then that's just well-rounded worth of content for the student as well.
Yeah, I think the challenge we had today was talking about all 57 of our chapters and all 4 of our councils in a broad collective manner. And we know there's a diversity in experiences that exist. So we didn't want to get too specific into the weeds, but we also want to make sure that you feel comfortable asking any questions that might seem silly, or, we truly know that like fraternities and sororities feel like a different world sometimes. So who can I contact to get more information about a fraternity's disciplinary action? You can contact us. You can contact the Office of Student Conduct. If there's a specific group you're wanting to know more details about, I think we're pretty much the right people to ask. We were usually around for some of it. I think the website, so I'm going to go I'm going to put it in the chat, fsl.vt.edu/Hokies Don't Haze. That's the best way to kind of get the general broad sense of what groups were involved with what. It'll give kind of the one-liner or the two-liner. Ro and I typically have more context and story time if those are the details you're looking for.
You all are asking great questions. Thank you, and keep them coming.
I do think I want to link to the scorecard as well, because that's something we mentioned a lot. And if you haven't been able to look at that, I think that's a great place to start. So we have a couple big community like recruitment events. One of them is called Showcase. At the beginning of every semester is the Fsl Showcase. And at the showcase, we make sure that the scorecard is what we're giving to every Hokie that walks in the door, just because it's really the best comprehensive way to start to see the differences between each of the organizations.
The physical copy that Abby was talking about looks like this. And then on the inside has all of our organizations with lots of information, and then information on the back. And so the electronic version has all the same information. It's just electronic.
We are happy to take any more questions that you might have. No questions too small, or if we've already covered it and you just want to clarify, we're happy to do that.
And then I know that if we don't have more questions, Abby and I can stay on a little bit longer, just in case if you have some specific questions that you would like to ask us afterward as well.
That's a great question. So when are the mandatory meetings is a question I got. Let me look for Panhellenic.
The info sessions?
Yes, the info sessions. I'm trying to figure out when their next one is, at least, because it'd be helpful for them to get to that. We have some really awesome student leaders who do some awesome work independently. So sometimes we have to go ask them or find the information. But they are coming up soon. Oh, okay. So the next couple ones I see are 9/28 at 8 p.m., 10/3 at 8 p.m., 10/19 at 8 p.m. And then I'm sure they're going to add some more in November, but the next one after that is 12/1. So I will add that. I will say too, Panhellenic recruitment registration has not opened up yet, so they haven't missed anything. I think it opens up September 1st. I'm 95% sure.
September 30th.
Oh, September 30th. Shoot. See, that 5% chance. I'll put those dates in the chat. So they'll register via the chapter, or it's called My Campus Director, and they'll be able to fill out a small bio about themselves, as well as to pay the recruitment registration fee at that time. I will say too, Panhellenic formal registration closes on December 5th. So they'll have all semester to make sure they get signed up. The next question we have is, what is the pledging process for fraternities and when does it take place? Ro, I'm going to try and get the dates in the chat. Do you want to take that question?
Yeah, absolutely. So each one of our 57 organizations has its own specific new member education and intake process. And so it really is dictated by that national organization. And each one of those organizations has a curriculum in which they have set, and that they give the organizations autonomy to be able to deliver. And so each one of them look different. Generally speaking, they should be engaging in a new member meeting, depending on the organization. They may attend a chapter meeting. They'll obviously be learning information about that organization and the history, and helping to prepare them for a membership within that organization. And each one of them lasts a different amount of time. So some of our organizations are required to initiate within 72 hours of becoming new members, and some have new member processes up to 8 weeks. I think that's a really good question to ask each one of the specific organizations that your student is interested in, is how long generally is that new member process. For those 29 IFC organizations, the Interfraternity Council also supplements some of that education with the new member IFC new member sessions that focuses on
mental health, alcohol
health.
education, diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, making sure that they feel like they belong in their organization and others do too. A little bit of this FSL 101, figuring out the bigger community they're part of, and an individualized smaller group sexual violence prevention workshop. Thanks, Ro. Sorry, I've spent a lot of time working on those IFC info session or in education sessions. The next question I see is for Panhellenic recruitment. How many students typically go through? What is the average bid percentage? Meaning, do all P&Ms or potential new members likely get bids? And if not, what percentage do? That is a great question. So last year we had right around 900-ish registered. And I just looked really quickly. It looks like we carried 885 of them into philanthropy round. So 3 of them withdrew and a couple others just didn't move forward. So our retention rate is typically pretty high, which is good. I would say, you know, we really try and have our Panhellenic groups focus more on values and authentic relationships, far more than maybe that sensationalized media of bigger schools further down south, where it is potentially sometimes, you know, it gets caught up in a little bit more of legacy status and who you are and what you look like. But really here, it's a little bit more of there's something special going on, a little more genuine. I was trying to look for a final thing. I think our total number was right around 800. So I would say, I'm not sure if this is 100% correct percentage wise, and I don't know, Ro, if you're looking too, but I think we had no more than 100 members who didn't receive a bid, or students who didn't receive a bid that went through the process. So if your student goes through the process with good faith and genuinely showing up as who they are on time and all of that, I think their chances of finding a Panhellenic home are pretty good.
So I'm putting this in the chat. So 88.4% of the women who started the formal recruitment process finished the formal recruitment process. And so again, that's pretty great. And quota was 58 women, and 12 of the 13 organizations met quota.
Quota is the number of new members that are extended a bid in each individual chapter.
Okay, hold on. I'm doing
You're doing the good math.
I do, and I'm going to. I was responding to someone. Is there another question?
Not right now that I'm seeing. Yeah. No, not right now that I'm seeing. These have been really, really great questions. One question that the Panhellenic women have seen is that if you just need to attend one of the mandatory information sessions, your Hokie does not have to attend multiple of the mandatory information sessions. I also want to just kind of put out into the world that your Hokie, especially for Panhellenic formal recruitment, she does not need to go out and buy a whole new wardrobe for formal recruitment. I think there's sometimes a misperception that that's the case, and that is not the case. I do think we will plan on, especially, the good feedback we've gotten from this, and I do think we'll plan on having a parents Panhellenic recruitment information session later this fall. Seems like it would be valuable. Percentages for fraternities. Also, is it possible to get a bid from more than one organization and then have to choose? Yes. Our percentages for fraternities is a little bit lower than sororities just because it's less structured, it's less formal, right? So we do a coordinated effort. So all 29 of our IFC groups are having events in about a week and a half, 2-week period that are open and advertised as best as they can be, I think. But some of the events ranged from, maybe there was 14 guys that showed up as a potentially interested new member, and maybe there was 400 guys that showed up. The numbers ranged quite significantly. So if your Hokie is going through the fraternity recruitment process and has found himself kind of in a sea of 400, those groups are still probably only going to give out 30 or 40 bids of invitation to membership. So I think it's important that if they don't get a bid Monday night, make sure that they keep their spirits up as much as possible, because as we mentioned, at least all of our groups are eligible to do the informal extending a bid at any time, but at least 10 of our groups, of our 29 groups, will engage in another structured round of informal recruitment where they'll have at least another event or two that are just kind of open to any interested young male who wants to join. And it's highly encouraged that they go out. And if they're registered, we share that no bid list with each of the chapters to make sure that they have any interested students who didn't find a fraternity home, how they find their list. So yes. Is it possible to get a bid to more than one organization? Yes. So we have some students who will receive just one. They were really interested in one, and that's the one they got a bid from, and yay, good for them. It's a good fit. But there's sometimes students who were like, yeah, I was really rushing around or going to different groups, which is awesome and really encouraged. So I think the most I've ever seen is 4 or 5 chapters that they received a bid from. So we will have on-site support Tuesday night during our bid acceptance process from 3 to 7 p.m. so they can talk to a professional staff member about their choices. I should also mention that so Monday night from 5 to 9, all 29 of the groups will go out and extend bids. And then there is a strict period of silence where your student is supposed to be talking to you, their family members, their friends, really trying to think about their different decisions that they've now received before that, so they can best make their decision. All right, so Justo, I hope that answered your question, but if not, we can circle back to it. So The links to individual fraternities on the scorecard you shared don't seem to work. Is there another version? Well, go ahead, Rob.
I'm going to look really quick. And if not, I can.
If not, we can share our organizations page, which has the same links to all of our groups. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure that. I wonder if it's just the PDF or could be anything.
Yeah. So like Abby said, if you go to the fsl.vt.edu website, and if you look, I'm looking for the
it's /organizations. So meet our organizations, and then you can click chapters, and then it's got it split by fraternities and sororities. The councils are intermixed there, but you'll have the male groups as fraternities and the female groups as sororities, even though they might be technically considered to be women's fraternities, but that's how they're split on that page. Gosh, another really great question. For students who receive multiple bids, what would be your advice on how to choose? I really think that they need to consider their own personal values and who they want to be most like, right? I think there's that old anecdote of you become most like the 3 or 5 people that you spend all your time with, right? So they need to think about who do they want to be like. Ro, do you have a different take on that advice?
No, I think so. One of the things that will happen is if they receive a bid for an IFC fraternity, is they'll come into the Fraternity Sorority Life office to accept their bid. If they have multiple bids, we'll ask them like, do you have any questions? Are you sure? And that's a really good opportunity for us to be able to talk with the student. Same thing with Panhellenic sororities. And so one of the things that I'll ask is, what is it that you're looking for from a fraternity and sorority experience? What are the things that stood out to you about each one of those organizations? What makes you draw to them? And what questions maybe do you have? Because I think sometimes they have questions, or they have very specific things that they're weighing in their pro-con list that we can talk to specifically. I think, again, like Abby said, you have to go to the organization where you feel like you can be your best self, where you feel like you can grow and develop. You feel like you belong. I think sometimes students are like, well, my friend from back home is joining this organization, and I don't know. And it's like, well, again, you can still be friends with your friend from back home. A lot of our members are friends with people in a lot of different organizations. And so it's not just exclusive to the people within that one fraternity or sorority. And so in a lot of groups, they mingle, they do things together. And so you don't have to join their friends organization to still be friends. A lot of groups, a lot of men and women, they are friends with people from a lot of different organizations. So I think that's the main thing that trips people up about which one to join.
Are all rounds of Panhellenic recruitment in person, or is the initial round a personal video like last year? So your Hokie will submit a personal video. The open house round is still virtual. We found that our chapters really benefited from this, especially because they were able to see the student in kind of a comfortable atmosphere. The video is just 3 minutes long. I think they're answering 2 or 3 reflection prompts that are just kind of fun and kind of get to know you a little bit. So yes, the initial round is a personal video, which they'll receive more information on how to complete that video when they're registered. And then all of the following rounds are absolutely planned to be in person this year. And it's yeah.
We have found that that initial personal video round has helped retention from first to second round. And so, and like Abby said, the chapters and the new members have found that really helpful and comfortable when learning about each other in that format.
That's a great question. Sometimes a question will get, it's kind of, again, very Panhellenic specific, as, you know, do they need a letter of recommendation, or does it matter what their legacy status is here? I would say here, like, just culturally at Virginia Tech, neither of those things matter much at all. We definitely are not a big letter of recommendation campus. I mean, you sure can, but it's certainly not necessary to join like it is at some other institutions. And I think legacy status is pretty, you know, the chapters just don't care. They just don't take it into consideration. And I think that's great, because I think they know that a lot of people, you know, I think they know firsthand how awesome being a member of a fraternity or sorority is. And I don't think they want to make any judgment based on who their family members are and if they were involved in fraternity or sorority or not. Again, we are super happy to continue to stay on our full hour and answer any questions that might pop up. We sure hope that this has been helpful for you.
Hi, this is Carolyn. I mentioned to Ro that I do have some specific questions, but I don't want to waste everybody else's time because it's so specific.
No worries.
Yeah, I'll definitely stay on afterwards.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, Hannah, Hannah, I think we might be all right to stop the recording, at least. I think I'm going to.